Hi, my name is Christy Bernard, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the NAMI Wisconsin Peer Leadership Council. I have my bachelor's degree from Lakeland University in biology psychology with a business administration minor. I've worked the same job for 10 years at Essential Health. I enjoy spending time with my dog Roxy, my cat Kitty, teaching community ed classes for rubber stamp greeting cards, and participating in everything NAMI. When I look back, I can see the signs of my illness starting in high school. However, I did not seek help for the depression until college because I was ashamed and thought my friends and family would not understand. Yet I had difficulties getting through college because I thought no one would understand, and because my moods were so variable. I had highs of reckless driving, $1,400 spending sprees, not sleeping at night, followed by crashes of depression and suicide attempts. According to my records, I have 33 hospitalizations. In 1 year, I spent every month in the hospital but August. And in that same year, I spent January through the end of May at Winnebago Mental Health Institute. Not only did I lose a sense of myself, I lost my job, my pets, control of my finances, and the ability to make decisions for my own health. Despite those losses, Winnebago is where I got an accurate diagnosis of bipolar, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. There were multiple factors that contributed to my recovery, but the four that played the largest role were finding a psychiatrist, DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, medications, and peer support. The DBT gave me the skills I needed to learn to cope with my troubles and motivated me to take my life back. I started advocating for myself by recognizing my own signs and symptoms when things are changing. Now I inform my doctor what's going on so my medications can be adjusted before things get out of control. I also started going to NAMI peer support groups to get the peer support I needed while starting my road to recovery. It was through those NAMI peer support groups that NAMI opened my eyes to a whole new world of opportunities and personal growth. I've been in recovery for 8 years now, and due to my recovery, I've been employed by the same employer for 10 years, took control of my finances and straightened them out to purchase my house, got a dog, got a cat, teach community ed classes every month, and do craft fairs and sell greeting cards and participate in my church. I'm on the NAMI Douglas County Board of Directors. I co-facilitate the NAMI Douglas County peer support groups, peer-to-peer, and mental health chat instructor. I'm on the NAMI Wisconsin State Board of Directors. I'm a NAMI Wisconsin State Trainer for In Our Own Voice. I'm a mental health first aid instructor. I'm on the State of Wisconsin Recovery Implementation Task Force Committee, a member of Disability Rights Protection and Advocacy for Individuals with Mental Illness, or PAMI Committee. And I'm a member of the Douglas County Mental Health Coordinated Community Response Team. I'm also a certified peer specialist at North Country Independent Living, and in 2019 I got the Peer of the Year award. I like to advocate for those living with mental illness wherever I go because recovery is possible. And being part of the NAMI Wisconsin Peer Leadership Council allows me to give the voice of a peer and to be a living example of hope for others.
Hi, I'm Joe Warzella, a member of the NAMI Wisconsin Peer Leadership Council. My current diagnoses are generalized anxiety disorder and depression. I was born to parents who were unable to care for me, therefore their parental rights were terminated. My adoptive father abused me as well as my adoptive mother and my adoptive brother. The abuse ended in 2001 when my adoptive parents divorced. Against my adoptive mother's wishes, I moved to Neenah, Wisconsin, at the age of 17 to live with my birth mother and siblings. It was then that I got in trouble with the law. Thank goodness that it did not happen because of my mental health diagnosis. It happened because of my poor choices. Probation provided me with structure, discipline, and accountability. Probation sent me back to live with my adoptive mother who was living in Clark County. During that time, I obtained my high school diploma and graduated in May 2011. Then I insisted on moving into my own place, even though I had no experience living on my own. I struggled for 2 years in my own place with personal self-care and personal apartment upkeep. Due to unstable behavior of seeking negative attention, lying, and manipulating, my probation officer and county intervened by putting me in a group home for 7 years. Upon release from the commitment and moving out of the group home, I moved into my own place in Eau Claire, where I reside now, today.
Hello, I'm Kay Jewell. I'm a member of the Peer Leadership Council. I'm also a physician. I'm trained in internal medicine with fellowship training in psychiatry and geriatrics. I'm a family member. I'm a parent of a loved one living with mental health conditions, and I am also a peer. Professionally, I have done a number of things. I've been the medical director for WPS, for the first medical director for Medicare in the state. I've served at Medicare at the national office, working on coverage and payment with all of the Medicare carriers. And I'm here to talk to you about my life living with mental health conditions, specifically depression and anxiety. I was first diagnosed with something when I was in my 20s. I was diagnosed with dysthymia. Dysthymia is kind of like a low-grade depression, except it's not like it's present and it affects your life. It carries all of the hopelessness, the helplessness, the low self-esteem, the lack of energy, the lack of sense of future, the thought issues and the emotional things that go along with depression, but does not get to the level of suicidality, but it also never gets to the level of joy. So it just kind of sucks to be you in this low level of depression, which has to be present for 2 years before you even get the diagnosis. And I've lived with it my entire life. At the time when I was diagnosed, it was we don't have anything for the treatment for this, so it kind of sucks to be you. In truth, I also probably had anxiety, which has been more recently diagnosed. But at the time that it was diagnosed, my reaction was, oh, I didn't realize that was anxiety. That's just how I've always thought that was normal. Well, it was normal for me, but it's not normal. It's anxiety. And I have to say, I've truly been pretty successful in the professional sense with my career and my life, because I've been blessed with good people who've supported me and advised me. But I can say that the dysthymia and the anxiety have definitely impacted my personal life and the quality of my life. Like I said, it's a low level of depression constantly present, and it affects your relationships. And it wasn't until I was actually fully diagnosed when I hit Medicare age, not because I was on Medicare, because that's when it showed up in full force. Because I didn't have, like many people, I didn't have hospitalizations or major events that took over my life. It just kind of always existed there and always distracted me and controlled my life, but it didn't totally throw me off balance. And it didn't until I was diagnosed with major depression when I was in my 60s. And it was then that I realized how much of an impact it had on my life and was continuing to have on my life, and how important it was to make the diagnosis earlier, much earlier in your life, so that you can learn to deal with the thoughts and the emotions and learn the skills. I also learned the importance of self-care in terms of getting back into balance. And so I'm part of the Peer Leadership Council for a lot of reasons, and the first one is to talk about the issue of stigma, how hard it is to recognize in ourselves the shame and the difficulty in telling other people that we live with a mental health condition. We need to normalize this, and by that I mean People who have cancer or diabetes or have a heart attack don't hold it back from the majority of the people they talk to. They don't feel shame, they don't feel embarrassed, and they get the help and support that they need. We need to do that with mental health conditions. We need to look at them not in terms of the failure of the individual or their lack, or focus on their difficulties in times of struggle. We need to focus on the recovery and the healing and the help that we all can give each other, and how life can get back on track and an individual can regain control of their life and lead a good life. And that's what we need to focus on and remember when we think about people. We don't want it that people say, oh, I have a mental health condition, and then we expect the worst. We want to remember the best and focus on the best, because that's who we are. We are not our diagnosis. We are people who happen to live with a biological condition. That's a big reason for the Peer Leadership Council to be active and focused. And my second reason is to tell people it doesn't matter how old you are or how long you've lived with something. You can deal with it, and you can go forward, and you can make your life better. And there is hope. There is hope to regain balance and learn the skills you need to have the relationships and the joy in life that you always wanted and that you've missed. So I think the Peer Leadership Council has a great deal to offer in terms of helping us recognize, be mentors and support to deal with the stigma and the hope and the recovery, so that we can all go forward and live courageously and experience some of the joy in life. So let's get together. Bye.
My name is Catherine Whelm, and I am the co-chair of the NAMI Wisconsin Peer Leadership Council. I have a bachelor's degree from Lakeland University in writing with minors in English and theater. I've been married for nearly 18 years, and I have 2 children. And I live with rapid cycling bipolar disorder and anxiety. In retrospect, I recognize that I needed help back to middle school, but I was taught to bury my fear and my doubt and hide any imperfections behind a smile. I knew my place and what was expected of me, and I worked hard to deliver. But 12 years ago, after the birth of my youngest child, I finally accepted I could not fake it anymore. At first, I would only admit to postpartum depression. It wouldn't be surprising. Like all of my pregnancies, this last one had been difficult, and during childbirth, my pelvis shattered. I was in terrible pain, frustrated with trying to take care of my babies and keep up with a career in middle management, and was spiraling into rage and paranoia. At first, I was put on antidepressants, which helped with the rage, but sent me into a manic episode that lasted nearly 3 months. Finally admitting that there was more than a touch of depression, I went into a partial hospitalization program where I was officially diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2. It was during this time that I was hospitalized for the first time. For years, I took the medications prescribed, I went to therapy, took part in both partial hospitalization programs and intensive outpatient care. I did both DBT and CBT programs. There were few programs that I felt comfortable with, since talking about myself and my illness was difficult for me. It was better to admit that I had a disease, but that I was fine, than to admit that behind every smile I was screaming inside. The medications did not work for me. The side effects were brutal on my physical health, and while on medications, I was hospitalized several more times, struggled with suicidal ideology, and survived 2 suicide attempts. But then my therapist recommended that I talk to my doctor about going off of all medications. After nearly 10 years on medications, I was taken off all of them at once. I struggled through months of withdrawal, learning to recognize my moods, and then learning to cope with my moods. My marriage suffered, my personal relationships suffered, and I wondered if it was worth it to keep trying. But when I came out clean and more aware, I was better than I had ever been before. For the next year, I worked with my doctor and my therapist to cope with my illness medication-free. Then in the fall of 2019, I started ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, and for the first time in my life, I feel human. I still struggle with anxiety, and I know that maintaining my treatments is necessary for maintaining my mental health. It took hard work, but I pulled myself from the ashes of my life. I rebuilt my marriage, my friendship, and my relationship with my children. I became a certified peer specialist in 2018. I now work part-time as a certified peer specialist and CCS provider, and I volunteer with Scouts BSA in NAMI, Wisconsin. I chose to become an advocate for living with mental illness because I know that the more of us who speak out, the less alone our peers will feel, and the more likely they are to reach out for help. Thank you.